Good evening, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Recreation and Parks Commission. Roll call, please.
Yes, Commissioner Stolnak,
Present.
Commissioner Loops, Commissioner Cavagnolo,
Present.
Commissioner Watts, Vice Chairperson Watson, pardon me, and Chair Moda.
I am here. Thank you. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will jump right into public communication related to commission business only and a 5-minute limit. First one, step on up, Barbara. Please state your name when you get up there. Not now, when you get there.
Hello, everybody. My name is Barbara Boland. I live at 637 Whiting Street, El Segundo, right here around the corner. I am one of the co-founders of the El Segundo Blue Butterfly Conservancy and also a master gardener and a native plant enthusiast. So, first of all, I'd like to thank the Parks Department for contributing to our El Segundo Blue Butterfly Hillside Maintenance just last Saturday, April 12th. In 2 hours, 15 volunteers filled one pickup truck with invasive plants removed from the hillside. Big thank you to Miguel. He was really great. He worked with everybody. Everybody loved working with him. He got in there. So that was really nice. So Christopher Henson was our first supporter in 2023 of the El Segundo Blue Butterfly Garden before we even knew where it would be planted. Parks has generously supported us through many plant installation and maintenance days since February 2024, and thank you very much. I can give you more of a breakdown of how many loads and all that stuff in the future. But really, thank you so much. So because of that, I know that Chris Henson knows about native plants and kind of wanted to, my feeling is that he wanted to bring them in and kind of around the same time we had the city plan come in, the future plan, which they also talk about bringing in more native plants, especially into our center area. It's written in the pages. So personally, my goal is to initiate a conversation with the Parks Department towards including native planting. It is written, like I just said, in our El Segundo future plan to include more native plantings, particularly a statement native tree in one of our most distinguished locations, Library Park in town, would make a big difference. A California live oak is my choice. It's an amazingly beautiful replacement tree. It would be an amazingly beautiful replacement tree, but we do have other native options. As an aside, there is a small park in Manhattan Beach named Pollywog Park, where there are several varieties of native trees recently planted along with other ornamental trees. Perhaps we could visit together with Christopher, perhaps also with an interested environmental committee member and a resident native plant person. Perhaps this would be a way to start more of a dialogue and a future plan towards bringing these native trees into our community. They seem like they have a really great plan there. I could be in touch, I'm sure you can, with whoever that designed the community there. So again, my vote is for the native California live oak, and thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Boland.
Thank you, Barbara. Next.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tracy Miller-Zarnicki. I am a resident of 501 Oregon Street, but tonight I'm here more so as the chair of the Environmental Committee for the city to say, yes, what she said about native plantings. Our vice chair, Kevin Butler, has been diving into that a lot, and I know you've talked to him too, Christopher. Several of you have talked to him already, but just in case you didn't know, there are 372 plants native to the El Segundo vicinity. So if you go to calskate.org and type in our zip code, you see that. So we have plenty of things to choose from here. So I just want to echo the yes, native plants everywhere. Yes, something majestic in the middle of Library Park would be a beautiful statement and something to do there. I know live oak has concerns because it's a protected species, but they're up and down the state, and they're beautiful and they're amazing. So again, I will trust that you guys will make the best decision in this, but just here to echo the yes to more native plantings everywhere we can put anything in this town. And from the environmental sense, it also saves water if you're planting things that are, you know, home to this region. So we're being water wise, we're being, you know, respectful of what nature should be, where we allow nature in today's world. So we're here to echo that, to support that in any way. Yes to the field trip or anything else where you want extra help in this space, please ask our committee, because we helped stand up the El Segundo Blue Butterfly Conservancy and have worked with them to broaden their scope into our schools, with business partners all over the city, just to, again, all embrace, especially the El Segundo Blue Butterfly, but native planting everywhere we can do it. So just wanted to offer the support and our partnership wherever we can be helpful to you all. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, with that, we'll close public communication. Move to the consent calendar, regular meeting minutes from March 19th, 2025. Recommendations: approve the Recreation and Parks regular meeting minutes from March 19th, 2025. Anyone?
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 5-0. New business, employee spotlight, Tyler Fuji. And who's going to get to speak on
I'll
this?
have Linnea
Okay,
make
thank
the
you.
introduction, and then I'll add a few words.
Good evening, Commission. It's an absolute honor to stand before you today to recognize this month's Employee Spotlight, Tyler Fuji. If you've ever wondered how our youth, adult leagues, and sport tournaments run so smoothly, look no further than Tyler. As a recreation specialist, Tyler is the logistical backbone of our leagues, juggling schedules, officials, and venue coordination with the precision of a point guard. Tyler has been instrumental in expanding our league's growth with his commitment, care, and leadership. He is always looking at ways he can better his already successful programs. Between coach coordination or capturing the perfect basketball shot with his camera, Tyler brings a calm, can-do energy that keeps everything moving forward. As a former league manager myself, I have never received more communication and attention to detail than I did with Tyler. The relationships he has fostered with the youth, teens, and adults in and around his programs is remarkable. Whether he is at his daily Rinaldi's run or popping over to support one of our other programs, there's always someone reaching out to him to say hello. Tyler's impact on the department is much more than I can list out, but I wrote down a few just so I could give you guys an idea. So adult 7-on-7 soccer leagues, 9 teams each season. Adult basketball league, between 6 and 14 teams every season. Summer adult softball league with 29 teams, totaling 466 participants. Fall kickball leagues with 12 teams. Winter youth basketball league, 28 teams with 286 participants, while implementing the use of the El Segundo Middle School gym for the first time this season. Assistance with the spring and summer Gabbett basketball tournaments, and any software challenges or historical knowledge questions that we throw at him. Tyler is a true asset to our department, and I don't know where we would be without him. So thank you again for everything that you do for this department and community. It's deeply appreciated. I know Allie has some words, and Rachel's
Yes.
here too, so.
Yes. Well, I mean, that was a phenomenal job. Linnea did a great job, but, you know, I've been in recreation since I was 18 years old, a lot of years, and I worked with a lot of staff. And to find a part-time employee who's as dedicated and professional and polite and wonderful as Tyler is, it's almost unheard of. Typically, people who are that skilled are in a full-time position somewhere, so we are very, very lucky to have him. He is just, he's just a rock in the department, and I'm actually surprised if we haven't nominated or recognized him before. I'm shocked, but this is a very well-deserved recognition for Tyler, and I just want to extend my thanks as well, Tyler. Thank you. Want to come up and say a few words? No? Okay, well, come up and get a picture. Come up and get a picture. Come up and get a picture. Rachel, you want to get a picture too? All right. Vivian, can you take a picture for us?
Thank you, Tyler.
Yes.
Awesome time. You guys
All right, good luck tonight.
Okay, and we are going to receive and file that.
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, Land Use Element Update Technical Advisory Committee.
Yes, good evening,
Talk to me about this.
honorable chair, and members of the commission. So I'm actually going to turn this over to Community Development Director Michael Allen. He'll talk to you a little bit about the committee and then what the recommendation is for the commission's involvement.
Thank you, Ally. Good evening, commission members. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Community Development Director. I directly oversee the city's planning division, building safety division, code enforcement, and our non-existent housing division. But part of the non-existing housing division is serving as a liaison to the Park Vista Senior Housing Facility, which Agnes helps me with, who is one of our analysts in our department. Today, or tonight, I'm here before you to ask for 2 appointees or 2, so essentially delegates, 1 primary and 1 alternate, although both can participate through the whole process, to sit on the Technical Advisory Committee for the city's land use element update. This is a 2-year process. We'll probably convene a handful of times, 4, 5, 6 times in the next couple of years. And the Technical Advisory Committee is really just intended to provide policy direction, feedback on the study that we're going through and developing new land use policy for the city for the next 20, 30 years. The land use element essentially is sort of famously referred to as the city's blueprint for development, for private property. It sets out the development goals, priorities, objectives from commercial, retail, residential, citywide. And so it's now, we're sort of endeavoring down this path that we haven't really dabbled in the last 20, 30 years probably. I think it was 1992 when it was last updated in a comprehensive way. And so we're long past due. They're usually a 20 to 30 year plan. And it's a good time for us to do it now. It's a good time in the development cycle. Development sort of slowed down a little bit. The city has seen its build out happen twice. Initially, when the city first founded in the early 1900s, it experienced its first level of build out. You saw predominantly most of the homes built that you see today for 50, 60 years, and then it sort of sat stagnant since then. And on the commercial side of town, you saw development mainly exist to support the war effort or any national defense, so the concentration of commercial and industrial is on the east side of town, and it's always been geared towards national defense contracts or any sort of DoD related employers or firms. And now that's transitioning a little bit, but it's still a very prominent use east of PCH. It is now time that we re-envision the city of El Segundo. Doesn't mean dramatic change, but it just means we need to redefine what our values are, what we want to see from a development standpoint on all sides of town, what the scale looks like, what type of growth we do or don't want, and where do we want it and where do we don't want it. So as part of the Technical Advisory Committee, we're assembling members from 5 different commissions, this commission being one of them, just to get different disciplines of thought. If land use planners make this plan in a vacuum by themselves, it will not turn out to be a great product. And so the best product is always bringing in as many disciplines of thought. The land use element impacts capital improvement programs, city economic development initiatives, open space initiatives, future investments in park space. There's a lot of ripple effect that come from the land use element. It also drives generation towards contributing to the city's general fund through taxing mechanisms and a gamut of other policies that are considered in the plan. And so with that, I'm asking you to appoint a couple members that will volunteer yourselves to, I know you're already probably busy. We don't have the meeting times set yet. We're still waiting to assemble the TAC. It'll likely happen in the evening, similar to the commission meeting times. We got to find a day of the week that all of the commissions aren't already meeting. It's almost every day of the week there's a different commission meeting or council meeting. So maybe Sunday mornings. So we'll find a time. But anyhow, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'll look to you to appoint 2 members amongst yourself. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
Dave, go ahead.
is this being spearheaded because of you looked at it and said, hey, we need to do this again? Or is this coming from council? Or what's the impetus for this now?
Yeah, it's really driven by, it's probably a little bit of both. The city council adopted a strategic plan, which is a 3 to 5 year plan, initially back in, I think 2021 was the first iteration of the version that we have now. And then every year thereafter, they're sort of re-ratified it. They've made certain changes to it. In the 2022 version of the city council strategic plan, there was an item added to begin incrementally updating the city's general plan. There are 8 different elements that are required by the state. The housing element, which is the one we touch the most, that is required by state law to be updated every 8 years. That one we do because state law requires us to. The other elements, there's no state law requiring any update. There's new legislation that do require incremental little touch pieces to public safety and open space and circulation in the near future. But there's no legislation that says on some regular cadence you have to update the whole thing. But it is best practice every 20 to 30 years to update the general plan in its entirety. It's a very expensive endeavor. Just this one element of the 8 alone is almost $900,000. And so to do all 8 elements, we'd be talking like, $7-8 million probably to do the entire thing comprehensively.
What costs $900,000?
The land use element update.
Like the administrative portion?
The 2-year process to go through the studies, the environmental analysis, the community engagement, the economic policies, just the development of the plan itself is a 2-year process that takes, it's actually $886,000, I think.
Is that primarily the studies that you have to bring into?
It's the consultants and the environmental costs and just the overall effort. The staff time is not built into that cost. That is consultant time and cost resources to do the community engagement and the environmental and just the development of the program itself.
Wow. Are city council members on this? Is it a committee?
10.
Yeah, we will have 2 council members. There will be 2 council members, 2 members of this commission, if you like, 2 members from the planning commission, 2 members from the environmental committee, 2 members from the DEI committee, and then 2 members from the,
No, it's not.
I always
CC.
forget the last one. It's the CPAC.
CPAC.
It's the capital improvement.
And is the charge to make a recommendation to the council, or is there guidance along the way so that the end product is what the council wants? Because it sounds like there's some serious decisions to be made with regard to how close your house can get to the street and all sorts of stuff like that
Yeah.
could potentially be changed, right? That's
Absolutely.
Some big decisions.
Some of the getting into the weeds to that level of detail will certainly be discussed, but no decisions will be made. And those types of decisions are made through the implementation of the land use element. So the land use element offers a very high level vision of what do we want to see, El Segundo 2050. And if we went on a long trip and we came back in 25 years from now, what would we envision this community look like? And so it sets very high level policy. Then once that policy is set, the staff work on implementation measures. And some of those things could be, if there was some vision of having, row housing, with no setback, then that would be something we'd have to implement through a zoning text amendment, and we would do that.
So it's not
But this is a
really tonight.
policy direction, guidance only. There's no decisions. There's no Brown Act requirements. It's not a formal noticed public meeting, although the public can always attend because it's good dialogue to hear and participate in. But it's to obtain policy direction or feedback or guidance from folks who live and work and breathe in this community every day and already sit on committees and commissions that speak to their sort of technical knowledge and experience in the community. And so that's why we're pulling from a few of the different commissions. And then there will be equal counterparts and representation from city departments as well. We'll have public safety, both police and fire, rec and park staff, planning and building, and public works staff as well.
Okay.
It'll be one very large meeting, yeah.
I wanted to ask a couple things. Since you mentioned, parks that, city employees would be involved in it also, and there's 2 from each commission, 2 from different committees. You know, you seem like you're gonna have a lot of people. Is the school district also going to have a seat at the table?
They won't be part of the technical advisory committee, but they will be a stakeholder. There's a separate effort. They are a community stakeholder. They don't work for the city, but they're certainly a stakeholder group that we'd be interested in. So the consultant team would be meeting with the school district, well, both school districts as stakeholder groups to be involved in that process.
Okay, because I feel that that's important as well. With land use, with taxes, with everything. And I know when I was on the Gateway Committee, assigned from this commission on the Gateway Committee, we had a lot of people on that committee, and it was hard to make decisions with so many. And going forward with this, you're talking about 2 from the council, 2 from Rec Park, 2 from planning, 2 from this. Do you think that's getting to be too many instead of having 1 from each?
No decisions are being made. It's soliciting feedback. So it's just
Okay.
it's a structured environment with dedicated individuals to solicit feedback and you know, if you can achieve consensus, great, but that's not the desired outcome. It's just to solicit feedbacks to help inform sort of fork in the road decisions, or if we get to a point where there's clearly no consensus, it gives us a decision point that we can then go to council and say, hey, we're trying to choose between A and B. We're not sure which direction to go in, then we can get direction from council.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Who is making the decision, just so I understand?
City council makes the decisions.
So, and so this advisory group would have a work product, which is effectively recommendations to city council on decisions, or it would not have
The-
the work product? There is no work.
There's no work, the work
So
product
who's
will be the
listening? I guess,
product itself.
who's listening to these
This
people
will be
talk
staff
and then
and-
talking
yeah.
to city
The
council?
staff and the consultant team is listening to this committee to develop the work product. The formal recommendation comes from the planning commission. Once there's a formal product, the planning commission reviews the gamut of the entire thing. There will also be separate study sessions with the planning commission and city council, likely in here, where they collaborate. But then the planning commission will then make a formal recommendation based on this plan. But there's no homework. You don't have to take anything home with you. You just have to bring your brains and selves.
So all the studies, all of that information is not part of the review of this advisory?
Well, it'll certainly be available, and if there's a decision point or if there's a sort of feedback point where we need feedback, then, you know, this body would certainly be, you know, looking at that and providing feedback. Yeah.
Does it encompass transportation and how that connects to land use?
Certainly. There's a separate element, the circulation element, that deals directly with transportation, just like there's an open space or parks element in a lot of cities that deal with that by itself. But the land use element, out of all 8, is the only element that touches all of them. And there is a traffic consultant that's on board with the consultant team because of that reason. There's a direct connection to the city's circulation system and trip generation and potential traffic implications, or parking.
Okay.
So
Thank
with that,
you.
I'll look to the 2 of you to give us a couple of folks that wouldn't mind participating, and then we'll be in touch with any follow-up.
So are there any members that would like to volunteer? There,
Anyone?
got Julie.
I'm afraid that I won't be able to make every meeting just because the days and times aren't selected. I'm willing to do it if no one else wants to do it, but because of that, I don't think I'm necessarily the best selection.
I'm very interested in it. I've been interested in the planning of the city forever, since I have been here forever. And so, and now I have more free time. So I would be definitely interested in it.
And I haven't heard,
Well,
go ahead.
I'm definitely interested, but I also am conscious that I'm on a lot of our subcommittees, so I'm certainly willing to put in the time and energy, but we could also say, I will be your backup if you can't, because it sounds like you would like to do it, then, because I'm very interested in all of this, but also where.
I'm
Yeah.
waiting.
Bob,
I
Mark?
heard- I'm looking down at Mark, so, opinion?
I'm honestly hesitant. It's a really big group. I don't know, like, if how much impact the voice will have. this is my own personal perspective on groups this large and meetings this large and
Sure.
more CYA than actual solicitation of input. So I'm gonna actually pull myself out on that.
And Julie's really interested. Dave's an excellent backup, and I'm going to let it go right there.
Okay, so,
Kelly is my backup.
And I'm good with that.
okay.
Are you okay with Kelly as your backup and Kelly's okay with you?
Yeah, so I'll be number 2 and then 2B.
So can
You
I
guys
get
are
a,
both number
Are
one,
you
so
guys?
yeah.
I mean, I know you don't want us all up there, but and I'm good with that. But
can we get a
we'll go with-
nomination? Can we get a
So-
nomination in?
I'll make that motion that Julie and Dave nominate them to go on this committee.
Do we need
I'd
a-
second that.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's 5-0.
Thank
got-
you.
got your
Thank
two.
you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
And yes, it's a public meeting, you can go.
Yeah, that's what
So-
I'm thinking. That was my plan,
Yeah.
but then he seemed hesitant.
It's a public
then
meeting,
I
so
was
you can go.
I just don't want to not have something.
So we're good with that?
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's okay.
Just to go and check it out, I know. Okay, we did that one, that was 5-0, and here we go.
Yes.
Unfinished business, replacement tree for Library Park, and their staff's recommendation is that we select a replacement tree.
Yes, Honorable Chair, members of the commission, as you recall, we brought this item to you last month, and commission asked for some additional information to come back to the commission. They also asked that Christopher be here for the presentation, Christopher Santos. Christopher Henson is our park superintendent. He's also an arborist, and has a lot of experience and very well versed in our tree palette here in the community. So I'm going to turn this report over to Christopher.
Good evening, Commission. The goal is to find a replacement tree for Library Park. As you're aware, a mature Canary Island pine donated by the El Segundo Women's Club located at Library Park died and was removed in March of this year. So I know there was discussion last week that kind of fell through the cracks, so to speak. And so I took the opportunity to reach out to the Women's Club. And I spoke with the president of the Women's Club. And her input was to replace the Canary Island pine with a Canary Island pine. Okay? So that is what I made as a recommendation based on the Women's Club input and operational considerations. Now, since then, there's been a lot of input on a variety of trees, especially towards native trees, and have made some descriptions there of some of the optional type trees. And what I'd like to say is that you're not even limited to these trees. If you want to consider other native trees, go for it. But I did receive an email right before I came to the meeting today from another member of the Women's Club, a gardener, and her recommendation was the Coast Live Oak. So there's a lot of different opinions on the tree. I don't think there's any right or wrong tree. There's just a lot of different opinions out there. So with that, I'll take any questions or comments.
Dave, I'm going to start on this end and we'll work this way.
Okay, so first, let me say this, that this is interesting because we as a commission have not typically been asked to weigh in on replacement trees. And so I'm a little bit, not confused, but just wondering if this is now going to be the commission's job to select replacement trees, because that could be a lot of trees, or is it gonna be just particular ones that the community is particularly concerned about that come to us, that probably makes a little bit more sense. And where is the line between, like, when is it gonna come to us and when is it not? So that's my first just general comment. This is a little bit odd, that we're being asked to do this. But if this is a new direction, so be it. Secondly, Barbara and Tracy sound like they're interested in a philosophical switch by the city overall, which is a very different thing than we're selecting one tree for one spot. Because when we talk about natives, if the city council or the city has a desire to go in that direction, this is a much easier decision, because then we just go coast live oak and we're done. But I haven't until today and last meeting been told that that was a thing. And if we're going for native, like, grass isn't native to the area. Like, the entire library park is not native. Like, all of that grass would go away. If we're truly going native, we're not gonna have front yards, which is fine. I'm not saying but that's a philosophical switch. So, I mean, I think it's possible that we could say, well, you gotta start somewhere, right? That's one answer. You gotta start somewhere if we're gonna do that. But I didn't know that that was our thing. I think it's a noble thing, but it's new to me that's going on. So, to me, if I'm kind of just have blinders on a little bit, because no one's told me that that's the philosophical direction of the city or the council. So for me, I'm thinking this is just a one-time shot. Like, this is the one time we're gonna be asked to replace a tree. And so for me, it's about the questions that we asked at the last one. So if you wouldn't mind if I go through these questions. So has staff selected a specific site for the tree to be planted? Because that was one of the things we talked about. There's irrigation considerations, there's the electrical outlet for potential Christmas tree lights, there's the stage for the concerts that it might be in the way of. So has a site been selected?
We're looking at basically the same site as the tree was removed.
My understanding in my limited research and knowledge is that you can't plant a tree like that right there, because of all the roots that existed from the previous pine will get in the way, and so it has to be somewhere else. And you're the arborist, so I could be totally wrong, but I thought that wasn't even an option to plant it right there.
Well, they did it, when they removed the tree, they also did a large grinding effort as well. And depending on the tree that is selected, other modifications may need to be made. If we're gonna go coast live oak, I have some concerns about it being in ornamental turf areas, and also the irrigation coverage that is there. So I think there would have to be some modifications to those items. And it may end up meaning moving the location to a degree.
Right, and so, I mean, I can't make any decision without thinking of the financial piece as well, because then if it's potentially a different decision, if one of these has a $20,000, or I'm making up the numbers, a $5,000 sprinkler cost associated with it, that might change the discussion as well. So it's gonna be hard. I mean, I'm gonna go through the rest of my questions, but it's gonna be hard until some of these things, like, is money not an issue? Can we do as much sprinkler work as we need? Is that not a concern?
We do have budgets for that type of work.
Okay.
And we'll most likely use in-house staff to do that.
So it's not a big deal. That
No.
piece is, I'm making a big deal out of nothing on that piece. Okay.
Correct.
Does staff intend or desire to hang Christmas lights again?
We don't have any direction to do that at this point from the council. Is that correct?
Right. My understanding, the Christmas lights were basically done just at the Centennial event, and not on a continuous basis.
Wasn't it there the last couple of Christmases?
I've been here for 2.5 years. We've never had that tree lit. So, and there's been no further discussion with staff or council or city manager's office to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good info.
Yeah.
Okay, so then my next list of questions is all about, like, can the rest of the kind of environmental stuff, not environmental like native stuff, but like for the people using the park. So is there no need to take major space around the trunk? So is one of these trees the kind where you have to draw a big circle around it and make that not walkable so that you have space for the branches, so therefore it takes away play area? Or are they all just gonna be straight into the ground and you can grass it right up to the trunk? So if one of these or two of these has to take up space in the park, then I would probably maybe knock it off for that reason, just because it takes away play area. So are they all the same as far as just go straight into the grass, or do some of them need big areas?
For the most part, I'm thinking the Coast Live Oak may need a little bit larger area than a standard type tree, but, we're not talking 50 feet.
Right, 10 feet, and maybe a 10-foot
Correct.
radius or something like that.
Correct.
But still a consideration, just because there are soccer little guys down there and stuff like that.
Different part though, this is on the part where the sidewalk goes and then it's in between the round sidewalk and the straight sidewalk, there's not a lot of stuff around.
Yeah, I don't disagree. There's still activity though, and kids playing around. It would be mulched, yeah. The area
Mulched,
around the
definitely.
trunk. Are any of these, do all four of these trees satisfy no droppings that cause issues, no major pollen issues, provide appropriate shade if we're looking for shade, and we already talked about the sprinkler system, so I'll cross that one off. So droppings, pollen, shade, are they all comparable in those areas?
They are. Some are more a vertical type tree versus a canopy type tree. So you get a little less shade, kind of thing.
And I appreciate that you're leaving the decision to the commission. But we do have 3 arborists on staff, and I assume that the 3 of you had some sort of conversation. Is one of these, if you take away all of the, take away all of the opinions that you've heard, and the 3 of you sat in a room and said, what's the best tree for this spot that's gonna be healthiest, the longest? Was there an opinion in that area?
There was. Our original recommendation was the Norfolk Island pine. And basically because it has a Christmas tree look or feel, it's evergreen, and it does well in El Segundo.
Is there a concern that the live oak may not do well in that spot?
Well, I do have a little bit of reservations about the turf area, but I think we'll need to make some modifications if we go that route. The Coast Live Oak, they're awesome trees. They are just gorgeous. A little slow growing, but they are really nice trees.
A little slow growing, so that was the one that was only a foot a year? If you remind me, do you remember there was one that was super fast growing and one that was, it sounds like we're down to the pine and the live oak, but. Yeah, please.
I want to make just a couple of,
Please.
refer to a couple of your comments. So the city council asked that this particular tree be considered and, by the commission because of, I think, the tie to the community. So I don't foresee this being something where we're going to start bringing trees back to you. However, if there is a situation where there's another tree somewhere in the community that we know is going to be sensitive, part of that is vetting it through the commission to also give the community an opportunity to weigh in. Staff did give a recommendation, and then we were asked by the city manager's office and the city council to please provide a couple of options for the commission to consider.
If lights aren't really a thing as part of this, what's the purpose of having it be Christmassy looking?
It's a tradition.
Just tradition?
Well, the original plaque that went with the tree called it a Christmas tree. So it was just kind of keeping in that tradition.
Okay, I'm personally down to the 2. I don't know how to make the decision between the 2, but I'll listen to the rest of the comments and discussion and then make a decision at that point.
Okay.
Thank
Kelly. Thank you, Dave.
As I said in the last meeting, I'm a big fan of natives, which brings me to the California sycamore or the Coast Live Oak, and I lean toward the oak because of, I think that it's going to have a better, well, first of all, there's already a lot of California sycamore in that park. I do think they're beautiful trees, but I think if we're looking for a grand replacement for an important tree in the city, that the live oak has that demeanor and presentation, and I'm a big fan of oaks. I like what they harbor in terms of wildlife, and yeah, that would be me. But again, I appreciate all the questions you've asked, and also that council's asked us to make a decision. So if we're to weigh in, we've had a lot of support for that live oak, and it seems to me like that if Christopher has no major objections to it from a maintenance perspective, then that would be my vote.
I think I said my thoughts, provided my thoughts last time on the coastal live oak. I mean, it's not like other oaks, to be clear. It's got, I think it says in the description, it's got holly-like leaves that fall. It is not a soft, big leafed oak. I don't know if we have any other, do we have other coastal live oaks in town?
We do not.
Okay. So I don't know how many people have been around a coastal live oak, right? It looks beautiful from a distance. It's great from a distance. Up close, it's a lot less so. I can say this, growing up in the Santa Cruz Mountains, where you have a lot of coastal live oaks, a lot. I'm not a fan of it. If everybody wants to go with it, that's fine with me. I just want to make sure you understand that this is not a traditional oak tree that you're talking about. It is in the canopy style, right? But that's kind of where it ends. This is an evergreen. It has very different leaf texture, and you don't want to compare it to another live oak or another oak, right? So I mean, to the extent you guys recommended the Norfolk pine, I mean, I want to understand if you could provide any more insight as to why you also recommended the Brisbane box and the California sycamore. That would be helpful, just because I think coming out of the last meeting, we really didn't understand the rationale for the recommendations.
Brisbane box we recommended because it's a fast-growing evergreen tree. And that's probably the biggest thing going for it, plus the bark is unique. California sycamore, because we have other sycamores in the park, it is a native to satisfy those voices. And yeah, it is deciduous, yes. You know, going back to your comments about the leaves and so forth, that park's mowed every week. So leaves do get picked up. They tend to have a bigger, heavier leaf drop in the springtime. But with regular maintenance there, we're picking those things up and so forth. So I don't think that'll be an issue.
That's good. Okay.
I forgot, Chris, you said the Norfolk pine is the same as the canary pine?
No, it's not. It's not even a pine, even though it has a pine name. It's an evergreen vertical tree, very tight, not even leaves. It's
Doesn't have needles, yeah.
But, and I'm sorry if you already answered this. Is there a reason why we're not considering that canary to replace it? You switch to a Norfolk Island pine and not replace it with the one that was already there?
well, in my report, based on the original Women's Club input I got, I am recommending
Okay,
a
that was the
Canary Island pine.
That was the canary. Okay, I got
Yeah.
confused because
Okay.
it was on the screen. They were the same.
So the team.
So the team wants to replace with a canary. This is a
No,
Norfolk.
the team proposed the Norfolk Island. In your
Correct.
report, after this discussion, Chris put in the canary. Is that correct?
Correct. And then I got another email here just before the meeting going for the Coast Live Oak, so.
Hold tight to your beliefs.
So, sorry, Commissioner Cavagnolo, so did you make a selection? Because I'm just keeping tabs.
I mean,
so
I would
can-
go with the Norfolk Island pine, or if we really want native, I would go with the California sycamore.
Okay.
Julie, I'm sorry, Margaret.
I'm all done.
Okay,
Thank you.
Julie, please.
Of course, I have something to say, and I've been doing my research on the trees. I was actually at Pollywog Park right after our last commission meeting, there on a walk with my mom, And I had noticed all of the trees that they had just planted in that park, and I estimated it was about 50 trees that they had planted. Turns out that it's 78 trees that they have planted in that park. Mainly native trees. I found the list of trees that they planted there. The park is going to be beautiful with all the trees they have put in. And I went through that list and pulled off several of the native trees that I saw that day and have researched them. And I have all of my notes here, and I would like to propose some others. I was kind of disappointed that there were only 4 selections. 2 of them were what we looked at last month, and then 2 of them were ones that I spoke about, the California sycamore, and then that Barbara spoke about with the Coast Live oak. I took into account what it is that Mark talked to us about the leaves, the thorny leaves, and that falling around the tree, and he had mentioned the valley oak. And so looking into the valley oak, that's one of the largest of the California oaks. It's a fast-growing tree. It talks about 20 feet in 5 years, has a pleasant fragrance to it. It tolerates cool, wet winters and hot, dry summers. And it's native, and it goes anywhere from 40 to 125 feet high. And so that's another oak, you know, that could be considered that does not have the thorny leaf. Also, a lot of the trees they planted at Pollywog are the big leaf maple, which is another great tree with giant leaves. Native again. It would have a round crown to it, so it would be a nice shade tree. It's excellent for parks, in big areas and for parks. It's a low maintenance tree. It has no serious pest or disease that it catches. And its average water needs, there we're using the purple water in the park. It attracts the birds and butterflies. It is showy with color. And that's another majestic tree, 40 to 70 feet tall and wide. They also have planted a lot of white alder trees, which they tolerate wet soil, which that can kind of be a wet area in the park. That has a height of 50 to 80 feet and spreads out as well. That's a low maintenance tree. It attracts birds and butterflies. They've planted a lot of the California sycamore there also. And then another tree that, I mean, it gets big, but it is a native tree, is the Aptos Blue Coast Redwood. That is an upright form. It's evergreen, it's fast growing, and it has a pleasant fragrance as well. So some of the Norfolk Island pines that we have over on Imperial on Memory Row, they've been there a long time. They don't look good. Hopefully this in Library Park would be maintained better, but some of those, they're like, you know, this, and it's, I don't necessarily know if the shape there, and I'm not looking at the city's going to be doing the Christmas celebration there. Not only is it expensive because they had to bring in a lift to do the decorating, to do the lights, all of that. That was for the special occasion. And so I don't really know that we need to replace a Christmas tree there. But I do think that there are other trees. The Brisbane box, I selected that tree that recently replaced a 70-year-old tree in my mom's front yard. And I selected that purely because it grows so quickly. So at 90-some years old, she can see her tree growing again. And it is growing like 3 feet a year. And it has a great-looking trunk. But once again, it's not native, and it is susceptible to insects and root rot. We have a lot of them planted in town, but I don't know if that's the right one. You know, there's also the Pacific madrone, which is like the strawberry tree. That drops the berries. That's native again. And we have a lot of those that have been planted in town. So,
Do you have a choice?
well, like I said, I like the sycamore tree. I also like the big leaf maple. The coast live oak, like Mark said, from a distance, I like the look of that from a distance. Not necessarily so much up close. And I have stood across, the other day I was standing across from Library Park in front of the high school and looking back at the park and the setting and everything. And also I have stood in the park itself and at Richmond Street School and looked. I've spent a lot of time on this, as you can tell, because I think it's an important tree.
I hear you, and,
You know?
and we all hear you, but can you come up with one, two?
I mean, if I have to select from that, if I have to select just from those four, I guess I would go with the two native trees. But I was hoping that we were going to have more of a selection than the four options that we had.
You're welcome to name a couple of the trees that you have.
Okay,
And-
so I would look at the big leaf maple. Big leaf maple and the sycamore at this point.
This-
So can I sum up what you've got so far?
Please.
Okay, so you've got one vote for the big leaf maple, two for the pine, three now for the sycamore, and two for the oak.
I'd like to change my vote.
Please.
I would go with the big leaf maple. I like deciduous. I'm happy with the deciduous.
And, okay, so what for your
Provides
vote?
seasons in a place we don't really have. How many votes do I get?
So now, you've all had two, so now it is a complete tie. And you have two for big leaf maple, two for pine, two for sycamore, and two for oak. That's where you're at.
I should only have one vote.
You only want one, so you don't want the island pine, okay.
Nope.
Okay,
Or I would take away my sycamore, sorry.
I already took that one away. So now you've still got three with two votes. You've got the big leaf maple, the sycamore, and the oak tree with 2 votes each.
Julie, can I ask about this maple, so it's a native maple?
Or can Christopher weigh in on it, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Let's have Christopher's feedback.
I was wondering if we could do the same with the native folks, but yeah.
Not that familiar with the big leaf maple. Have not seen it used all that much. This description sounds good. I know it's,
None others here in our parks, Christopher?
no.
Okay, so we're not familiar with it.
So I believe it's kind of a riparian type tree, likes the moisture and so forth, so it'd probably do well in a turf area.
Julie, you had me sold for a couple minutes on your valley oak, and then you went away from it. What happened to the valley oak?
No, the valley oak
It's a nice tree.
also, but I have not seen that I know of a valley oak in person.
Okay. You described it,
Big
it was
leaf maple,
great.
my grandparents used to have 2 big leaf maples in their front yard at the corner of California and Walnut. And I always liked it because it reminded me of Canadian flag with the giant, leaf, because our family's Canadian. But it's a beautiful tree, and they've planted a lot of them at Polywog.
Have they? A
For
lot?
shade,
Yeah.
yes, for shade there.
The maple.
the maple.
The big leaf.
Valley Oaks are
So
nice.
you're off the Valley Oak.
Like I said, I don't know that I have seen one in person, but that was an alternative to the live oak because of the thorny leaves.
If you
And
want
I went with what Mark had talked about because he has been amongst them.
Yes, yes. When I was like, you'd see a big oak tree from the distance, you'd walk up and you'd be bummed when it was a live oak versus a valley oak, because valley oaks have the nice, soft, larger, not like maple large, but like traditional oak leaf.
So you still have a tie, and actually, I'm a little remiss because I didn't include staff's vote. So if you had staff's votes included, you're still at a tie. But it brings the pine back in at a
Well,
2.
I mean, I didn't know we were doing the most vote wins, because I would have maybe changed mine, because I voted before I heard the rest of the stuff about the live oak, and now everyone else is convinced
Do we
me
want to
that
take votes one more
we don't want to
time?
do the live
Yeah,
oak.
I think it's a good
and
idea.
Bob
How,
At the end, yeah.
And
Oh,
Bob
Bob,
has
sorry,
had
go
a
ahead.
chance, so-
Go ahead, Bob.
hold off
No,
for
Bob,
just
you
a
don't
Yes.
second.
get, you don't get
I don't get an opinion here.
Yes, you get a vote.
It's opinions.
Yes.
As I said
very long.
last meeting, I want to go with staff's recommendation. That's why we have them here. So we have certified arborists. We have 2 of them, or maybe there's 3 on staff, I'm not sure. They come up with a decision or an opinion, and why, I don't know why we're fighting that. But again, we all have opinions, and that's fine. But that's what I started off with. I want to go back really quickly to the canary pine, which is what the Women's Club wants. That's what was there. Is there a problem with that tree?
Got diseased.
No.
Well, yeah, we all have diseases, though, okay? We all get diseases. Can you answer that? Is there,
It's a very common tree
okay?
throughout Southern California, does well, lives a long time. So it's not real susceptible to diseases. During the arborist report, they felt like because of the very wet winter we had previously, it's kind of a low area or a depressed area around the tree, so they think there was a lot of moisture there, and the tree was not able to dry out properly.
But it was there for 70-something years?
Correct. Okay. I'm not going to go back and forth on this. My recommendation is to go with the staff report and their selection, which is the Norfolk.
The Norfolk.
The Norfolk.
Any of you can make a motion at any time.
So are we able to re-vote, like I think you were, are we not? Yeah.
There's a motion on
If
the
there
floor.
If there
Oh, I
isn't a
see.
motion, we can
There's a
go with the
motion on the
motion,
floor.
and if we get 3 votes,
Then it passes.
Then there's the choice. So, I'm gonna let, start with Dave, do you wanna make a motion?
I'm not confident enough, in my opinion,
Okay.
to be the one to make the motion. I feel like this is not my area.
That's,
So I'm open to, I'm really open to all of them.
we all have,
I'm
there's
not,
5 different opinions up
So
here.
any
mean,
of you
if-
can make a
I'm
motion.
gonna-
if I was forced to, if you told me right now to choose, and it was my decision, I'd go with staff recommendation and do the Norfolk Pine, just because it's staff recommendation, and I trust them more than I trust myself.
Is that a motion?
No?
And here's why, though, I do think that was biased by the Women's Club asked for whatever, and Christopher thought that's what the criteria was. We then talked last time about different criteria like allergies or native or, leaf litter and things like that, and that changed, and all of a sudden we got 4. So I think that the staff's recommendation, yes, but that was biased by, I think, the history.
Oh, I think he's talking,
And the evergreen and the,
Yeah,
like there were, what was the criteria?
What Chris's team wanted, the arborist wanted, was the Norfolk Island pine, correct? The staff recommendation changed after. To the canary, after discussion with the Women's Club, because they wanted that.
Right, but the staff recommendation is changing to the
Correct.
They thought we wanted a
Christmas tree.
Christmas tree. Like, that's, again, like,
It was all based
what are we
upon an
solving for?
expectation. Yeah.
Well, we thought we were kind of honoring the Christmas tree look, okay? But
Yeah, also, you know, speaking with Linda Darna, who's the president of the Women's Club, how informed is she on the trees, number one? And is she just going with, oh, we should be doing another Christmas tree? You know, I don't know, on that point. And is the staff, and I respect their opinions, are they going down and, you know, looking at the park? Yeah, hopefully most of them know the layout of the park and how it all is, you know, how it's laid out and everything. But I mean, I think it's important to get a native tree in there and get things going with the native trees. And this is going to be a statement tree. It's a majestic tree. And in my opinion, I don't see that island pine being a majestic statement there.
Julie, is there a motion in what you're talking, how you're talking right now?
Sure, I'll make a motion that, for the big leaf maple.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion?
I haven't
I have a
seen a
motion and a
picture
second. I
of,
can ask for
of the
discussion.
big leaf maple. We haven't, like, this big leaf maple is, like, it's okay, I'm not saying it's bad, but, like, I'm not gonna vote on it. I abstain then, because, I mean, this is,
Well, and
we haven't
I
looked
don't
at it.
mind
We haven't
coming
talked
back
about it.
again, and we have more
In order,
selection.
you have a motion and a second on the table, so if
Fair
you can
enough.
take a vote, that would be great.
Fair enough.
All in favor? We'll start, well, you know what, we might have to do, go.
Roll
All
call.
in favor, let's go.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
No.
Motion passes. You have three
Motion
votes.
passes 3-2.
Thank you.
Okay,
Right. Thank you, commissioners.
But if it succeeds and everyone loves it, I still want credit for voting yes.
okay.
Thank you.
And I can have a couple of other things.
Yeah.
Christopher, thank you for.
Yes, sir.
For the staff report. I appreciate staff, and that's one of the reasons that I didn't want to go against them.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. And with that, we are to reports. Recreation, Parks, and Library Director first.
Yes, Honorable Chair and members of the commission, you have my report. It includes a great deal of information about what we've been doing for the past month in the essence of time. I'm not going to go into any detail, but I'm happy to answer any questions commissioners might have.
Anyone? Okay. With that, we'll go to Recreation and Park staff.
I'll go first. I'll try to make this quick. Last week we did have spring break, exciting week in the park. We had spring programming beginning today. Last night at the council meeting, we did have 2 reports. We were asked to do an aquatics report on the success criteria, and then an update on the upcoming contract with Councilman Hunsaker. So that was provided to the council. It was a receive and file, as well as a recreation court report where we provided numbers and data on the pickleball versus tennis courts at the park. So that is something we can also bring here as well if you guys are interested in seeing those numbers. It was also a receive and file. There was no motion to make any changes in the park from that data, but it was provided upon being requested. We do have upcoming this weekend our Egg Hunt and Camp Expo at the park, 10 and 10:30 for egg hunts, and then the Camp Expo will be happening simultaneously. May 3rd is our hometown fair, 10 to 3. on Main Street, Library Park in front of the high school. We're adding a touch-a-truck element to highlight some of our different departments in the city, so that should be exciting. We have the annual bake-off, so I am looking for, when you guys are doing your comments, if you are interested in being a judge for the bake-off, I think around 12 p.m. is when the judging is. Please volunteer so I can let the staff know. It's Saturday, May 3rd. Yes, if you are interested. And then the last one is May 17th, 11 a.m. at the Joslin is our free luncheon to celebrate the Older American of the Year, so our Elder Fest. So just a reminder, those are all upcoming.
Question on the success criteria report, is that published within the city council agenda? Okay.
City council agenda, and then it's also on YouTube if you want to watch it all.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. We haven't, the new success criteria discussion has not occurred, okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other staff? I'm sorry, did Christopher?
Unless Christopher has anything to add.
Well, I just have a question. It's for you, Ally.
Okay.
Is this tree selection going to city council? Please
No,
say no.
no. Unless I'm directed otherwise, no.
Okay. Well,
It's,
we'll be happy to plant the selected tree.
Thank you, Christopher.
And I'll take any questions or comments.
okay, thank you, Christopher. All right, we'll go with commissioner reports. Julie, you're up first.
A few things. Back on the tree, you know, it had mentioned in our packet about the cost being for a 36-inch box, $450 to $600, and if we went bigger than that, then it was going to require a lift and things. Is the 36-inch, I'm pretty sure that's pretty much what they were planting there in Manhattan, 36-inch trees. How much is that additional cost to go larger? And is there, no matter what tree we were planting, is there, I mean, is it so cost prohibitive that we stick with spending between $450 and $600?
I think you'd have to do some research, I'm guessing.
Well, to go with a 48-inch box, you're probably looking somewhere in the 1,500, maybe a little bit more, depending, because we're just planting one tree, so it's going to take a contractor to do that with a crane for one tree. It's usually when you're doing several trees, it's a lot more efficient and economical.
Okay.
So we'll have to get some quotes on that if you want to go with a larger size.
Okay, then some of the other things I wanted to talk about. Speaking at Library Park, they've had a storybook trail that's going through the park, and I thought that was a great idea. And when I was there, just on a walk one day, there was a mom and her little girl going through and starting at the beginning and reading each one of the pages. And I followed along and read the story myself. And I think it's been done maybe one other time. But I thought it was a great idea that, you know, they used an actual book. The graphics were great. The signs were great. And I think that's something nice to keep going. And it's just a nice addition to the park. So I was glad to see that.
Thank you.
So if you can pass that on
I
to
sure
the
will.
library. And then also I was one that was over there pulling weeds on Imperial. I think we had more than 15 people. It was a great turnout for pulling weeds, and that hillside is growing in really nicely. The buckwheat, all the native plants, there was a lot of weeds to be pulled, and Miguel was great helping. And so that was really nice to see so many volunteers coming out and how well that hillside is growing now. And hopefully the butterflies will be arriving soon. And we were being buzzed by hummingbirds when we were there. So it was nice. Also, I want to thank Joseph and the parks for getting on the trash cans at Washington Park, which I had been requesting for a while. And I walk by there just about every morning. And now there's one at each corner at Palm and at Mariposa. And there have been no poop bags to report along the trees now that we have trash cans. So that is nice. And then also, we haven't had an update lately on the Joslin Center. And I have had a senior approach me about there aren't many things for seniors to do at the Joslin Center. And I'd like to get an update on the Joslin Center, what senior activities are happening there, maybe an update on the facility, what the participation levels are. And one day I went in there with my mom to take her and see if maybe she'd be interested. And when we went in, there was nothing going on. And the lights were off in the main room. And she kind of looked at it like, what is there to do here? So I couldn't convince her to come back. But the one thing she did mention were the beautiful flowers that were out front. But the Joslin Center used to be such a robust place and so much stuff going on. And so I'd like to have an update on the Joslin Center as to what's going on there.
How different from, like, I'm seeing here, the classes, the Pinochle, whatever that is. Canasta Bridge.
Yeah, those are just numbers. I mean, I'd like to hear what it is that's actually going on. Because I've been approached by some seniors saying that it's almost like we're forgotten. Things haven't been brought back for us since COVID. And, you know, they're feeling a little left out, I guess. And when I have gone in there, there's nothing going on.
We can bring back a report.
Yeah,
That's not
okay.
a problem. Happy to do that.
Thank you.
Sure, what programming, new programming, things that we've got in the hopper. Yeah, happy to bring something back.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else? Okay, great. Dave?
Even though it's only one tree, I enjoyed that dialogue. And I think it was good citizen participation, and I don't want to pick every tree for sure. but because it's in the middle, and I'm glad we had it. And I don't know. Even though I voted no, I'm happy with just the way it all came about. It was good community involvement, and I don't know. It's the kind of thing that I'm happy that we get to do once in a while.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
I don't really have much. We'll have a quad subcommittee next week. Chris, appreciate the work your team put into selecting. You know, I feel bad that the direction that we provide doesn't necessarily tie, or the lack of direction, et cetera, doesn't necessarily tie with ultimately what our decision criteria were. But I really appreciate the work and all of your guys' help to get it done. So thank you. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Kelly?
Echo everything they said. I always appreciate you, Christopher, for everything. I wanted to give a little update on the field allocations, whatever we're called, working group. We did meet today, and we have gotten through the document. Now it goes back to staff to put in all the changes and give us a draft that we will then sort of take another pass through and make sure checks all the boxes, and then we will hopefully soon have something to bring back to you. Hopefully, I think we were hoping for next month. Mid-May, yep. So, yeah,
Thank you.
that's us.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, staff, for everything. And with that, we'll adjourn to our next regular scheduled meeting. Thank you, everyone.